At this time, the chair calls Celeste Shepard, and I have you testifying for yourself, on behalf of yourself, against the bill.
That's true. I'm Celeste Shepard. I'm a fifth-generation Texan and a constituent of Representative Howard. I'm also a physician, board certified in obstetrics and gynecology and maternal fetal medicine. Maternal fetal medicine is a recognized specialty devoted to the practice of prenatal diagnosis and the care of pregnant women and their fetuses. I have 20 years of experience in the intimate relationship that women who are pregnant, who face challenges in their pregnancy, have with their physicians. I'm here to oppose House Bill 16 and related legislation. Personally, I believe that abortion should be safe and legal because history teaches us what happens when abortion is neither safe nor legal. Personally, I find this bill and its companions to be an egregious, cynical, and inappropriate intrusion of the state into the intimate relationship between a woman and her physician. Professionally, as a physician, I take you at your word that your motivation is to promote the health and safety of the women of Texas, and I applaud you for that motivation. However, it's my responsibility to bring to your attention that this bill is bad medicine. The 20-week threshold is based on no legitimate or credible science with respect to fetal pain. It represents no legitimate biological or developmental threshold. The 20-week threshold also neglects a conventional reality in prenatal diagnosis, and it's stunning to me that you would choose such an arbitrary threshold after which to proscribe any option for termination. The language in this bill and its cohorts is so ambiguous that it will likely criminalize some appropriate and medically indicated interventions in pregnancy. I fear that you will, in fact, discourage legitimate obstetricians who would be available to take care of pregnant women in an emergency. I fear that you will discourage them from being willing to accept the care of women in an emergency situation for fear of running afoul of this bad law. Thanks.
Thank you for your testimony tonight. Nancy DeSant. Nancy, I have you here representing yourself against the bill.
That's true. My name is Nancy Besant, and I'm here to oppose HB 16 and HB 60. In my opinion, the vagueness of these bills places any doctor or clinic providing abortions in political or legal jeopardy that would probably result in the closure of their facility. And I believe that that is the real purpose of these bills. The resultant closure of these institutions because of the vague and selectively enforceable provisions of these laws will eventually return many women to the deadly days of back alley abortions. I have provided written copies of my planned remarks. Much of the text supports and duplicates statements made by other people in opposition to these laws. To save time, I will skip to the part that is not repetitive. If it sounds blunt out of context, I suggest you read the rest. These bills deny women the right to control their bodies, their health, and their lives. If a living, breathing woman has no control over her own body, then I see no reason that a female fetus should have that right either. Consequently, if women are denied those rights under these laws, then I see no reason why a female fetus could not be aborted. Therefore, what these bills are really doing is denying a woman an abortion because the embryo or fetus might be male. That is selective enforcement in the extreme. Please oppose these bills. At a minimum, any bills as complicated and selectively enforceable as these should not be passed in a special session. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Bonia Joseph, I have you here representing yourself and neutral on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Zenobia Joseph, an educator testifying neutrally on House Bill 16. I want to thank you and the members for being so attentive and for extending the time for all of us to speak. I have a couple of recommendations that I'll start with that are specific to the bill in Section 1, and I do recall the author saying at the outset that she would provide what studies she was referring to, but I do believe that the language is overly broad, so I would ask for you to put forth a committee substitute that would specify substantial medical evidence that justifies a compelling state interest. I think if you had expert witnesses before you and they didn't give you specific studies, that would be suspect. I also would recommend in Section 3 that there's language that's added. There are actually 9 provisions that are listed specific to the reporting of what the clinics have to do, and I would ask you to include the methodology of providing women with information about abortion implications related to mental health, emotional well-being, postpartum, hemorrhage, and counseling. A number of witnesses have talked about these issues earlier, and I think it would be substantive to include that language in the statute. I would also like to point out that I would ask you to balance the competing interests between the rights of the unborn child and that of the woman's reproductive health. Specifically, I'm going to quote from Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee from a bill that was heard just recently in Congress, H.R. 1797, which was also specific to the 20 weeks post-fertilization. She said it is patently unconstitutional. Griswold says it's a violation of the right to privacy. Doe versus Bolton, which was passed the same day as Roe versus Wade, specifically said the health of a mother had to be taken into consideration. This violates any kind of adherence to the health of the mother. I am neutral on the bill because I am a Catholic and I do not personally agree with abortion, but I have had a friend who had asked me to fund an abortion at one point in time because of an adulterous affair, and I did not do so. So I am cognizant of the fact that women do have choices, but what brought me here tonight is the fact that when I listened to Congress, they brought up Gosnell's case, and if you look at the fetus that is pictured on the handout that I gave you, a 5-month-old baby is a human. And so those pictures and the ones that I saw in trash bags in the garbage can actually were disturbing to me. So I came before you for that reason. And I am also mindful of 2 quotes. One from the pastor, Pastor Lawson, earlier, who said, the solution to the problem is not to murder your baby. Return to our Christian values. And I'm mindful of the quote from Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, where she said it is between your God, your doctor, and your family. If you have any questions, I'll gladly answer them at this time. The last thing that I will say as an educator is that I would ask you to consider that there are so many extremes. An A in the classroom is good, but when it's an A for abstinence or an A for abortion, we really do need to look at the gray area in between and recognize the testimony that was before you tonight as it relates to educating students more profoundly about the implications of their behaviors. I thank you for your time.
Thank you for being very specific on areas that you thought we needed to address. I appreciate that.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.